Anyway, I'm a 90s guy. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. But welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on in this impeachment trial. And by the way, it just has started up again. It is the defense team for Donald Trump. It is their final arguments in this trial. But the big news that's come out certainly in the last 48 hours, and Republicans can't deny that, it's the fact that a lifelong Republican and a man who many on the right have respected a great deal, including Fox News, John Bolton, revelations in his book, excerpts of it, saying that there was a quid pro quo, that the president did want aid withheld for dirt on political opponents, in this case, the Bidens. So here's what I find very interesting about this, right? First of all, John Bolton, I'm not going to sit here and say how much I respect the man. I don't, and here's why. He decides to write about this stuff in his book where he could have easily done some interviews for the American people and told the truth. He decided not to do that because he's a coward. And now, all of a sudden, after this book is coming out, he says, well, if I'm subpoenaed, I'll talk. He's an idiot. With that being said, for 11 years, he has been a paid contributor to Fox News. For 11 years, the likes of Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson have kissed his ass. I have never heard one person on Fox News, since this story, say one negative thing about John Bolton. Well, let's have a listen to some of these Republicans now. What do they think of John Bolton now that he might come out with some very damning information about Donald Trump? Let's start with Lou Dobbs. You know, boring Lou. Here's what Lou Dobbs had to say on his show about John Bolton.
John Bolton himself has been reduced to a tool for the radical Dems and the deep state with his allegation that the president once told him that the aid to the Ukraine was entirely dependent on whether or not Mr. Zelensky carried out investigations of his political opponents.
Make no mistake about it, Lou Dobbs. The only tool in the room is you. It's another old, white, crusty guy who is defending the president at any end. Lou Dobbs, you have absolutely zero credibility. You've had John Bolton on your show on a number of occasions. You've said nothing but nice things about him. And now, all of a sudden, you're saying John Bolton is a tool for the Democrats. No, sir, you're a tool.
People can't change their minds, Brian?
He's a tool. We all know why he's changing his mind. We all know why.
But he can't change his mind. And if you change your mind ever, you have no credibility.
If you change, I'm talking about this specific situation. Let's go to Tucker Carlson, another tool. If you want to talk about a tool, the man who said that the idea of white supremacy is a lie. A week after 22 people lost their lives in Texas, El Paso, in a Walmart at the hands of a white supremacist. Keep in mind, this is also a guy who has made homophobic and misogynistic comments on radio. If you recall, that came out several months ago. This is Tucker Carlson now talking about John Bolton.
Donald Trump used to recite a poem about a woman who took a dying snake into her house and nursed it back to health. The snake did become healthy and then immediately whipped around and bit the woman. As she breathed her last breaths, the woman asked the snake, "Why did you do this?" "Well, because I'm a snake," was the reply. "That's what we do." All of which somehow reminds us of disgraced former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Okay, let's go back to this. Disgraced John Bolton. Tucker Carlson just called John Bolton disgraced, comparing him to a snake. Keep in mind, folks, wasn't that long ago that John Bolton was on the Tucker Carlson show. In fact, Tucker Carlson has had John Bolton on his show on a number of occasions, loved by Republicans. But what does Tucker Carlson do? What anybody without any credibility would do. Anybody. What does he decide to do? Anybody that goes against Trump, anybody that has some information that could hurt the president of the United States, they turn. That's what they do, because they are biased buffoons wearing the Donald Trump knee pads. Keep in mind, John Bolton was a paid contributor to Fox News for 11 years. Do we understand the hypocrisy that is going on here?
And now he's getting paid probably millions and millions of dollars to write a book.
Which is academic to the facts.
It is not academic to the facts.
Oh,
Brian.
So you're saying he's lying?
Everybody
so
is
he's lying.
I'm not saying he's lying. I'm saying there's nothing there.
What do you mean there's nothing there?
What are they,
if John Bolton testifies that there's a quid pro quo.
Just keep in mind what's being discussed. There is a
quid pro quo.
There is a first draft of a manuscript. What is that?
Okay, so let's take it a step further. I'm not just going by this.
And in that draft, apparently, Donald Trump told John Bolton in one conversation with no evidence behind it Wasn't recorded.
Okay, so
wasn't documented.
let's go into detail.
But how about you let me finish my statement?
Okay, but you're not.
Okay,
that's not true. What you just said.
Of course it is.
It's not one conversation. It's not true.
Okay, Brian.
It's allegedly several conversations.
You just said a minute ago that it was one conversation.
No, I didn't.
Where John Bolton
I didn't say
was
that.
told by Donald Trump that withholding the $400 million in foreign aid to the Ukraine was 100% predicated on the fact that he wanted to get information on Joe Biden.
But it's not one conversation.
To win the 2020 election.
Correct.
The point is, this doesn't exist yet. You're making assumptions based on something that may or may not be true. Who has seen this document?
Okay, so
who has seen this manuscript?
All right, hold on.
Who has seen this book? And the fact that now, if John Bolton just came out and said, yeah, I don't want any money for this, but Donald Trump told me this. But he is trying to profit off of it for a reason, Brian, and that in itself completely destroys his credibility.
Okay, first of all.
So do I think that it's true? It could be true. And if it is true, and if he does testify, and if he testifies to the first draft of this manuscript, then I will be proven wrong. But if that happens, then Hunter Biden will testify.
Which has nothing to do with it.
Of course it will, because it'll justify why Donald Trump was okay with looking into the Bidens.
No, there's where you're fundamentally wrong.
I'm not fundamentally wrong.
Let me know
because I believe that Hunter Biden, who is not a very smart individual, you talk about buffoons, Hunter Biden is right up there on that list. Mm-hmm. But I believe that since he cannot plead the fifth under those circumstances, that he will basically crucify himself on the stand.
Okay, so
especially with Trump's attorneys who have been proven to be very good, like Alan Dershowitz, cross-examining him.
You've said a lot of things there.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to remember everything you said. First of all, let me start off with the word assumption. There are dumb assumptions, and then there are logical assumptions. And I personally believe it is a logical assumption that Bolton came out and said if he is subpoenaed, he will testify. In his book, it allegedly is talking about a quid pro quo. Many Republicans now, I shouldn't say many, but more Republicans are now coming forward, and they only need 4 that are saying that they want to hear Bolton testify, or they want witnesses to testify. Mm-hmm. They're willing to have that conversation. So it is more than justified for me to say that it is a fair assumption that eventually John Bolton is going to get up there on the stand and he is going to testify. And if it is true, which I believe it is, in his book, what he's talking about, he's not going to say something differently on the stand, because that would hurt his credibility. If he said there was no quid pro quo on the stand and then in his book says there was, his credibility is tarnished forever. Now, you also said a lot of other things about Hunter Biden, and this is, to me, this is the complete misconception and the narrative on the right, is that, well, let's get Hunter Biden to testify. Let's get Hillary Clinton to testify.
Absolutely.
Let's get Barack Obama to testify. Okay, here's the thing. It doesn't change any evidence and put forth by Democrats that he broke the law. Here's why. Even if Hunter Biden was a serial killer, even if Hunter Biden was a murderer or a rapist.
There's nothing to do with that.
Okay, let me finish, though. Even if he broke the law, and by the way, there's no evidence to support the fact that I've seen that the Bidens actually broke the law. Now, even if they did, they're not putting the Bidens on trial for crimes here. If they want to open up another investigation, and we're talking about a separate investigation, that's a different conversation. Hold on, let me finish. This is a trial, and this is very important. This is a trial to try to figure out if the president of the United States committed high crimes and misdemeanors. You put Hunter Biden on the stand, they're not questioning Donald Trump. They're questioning Hunter Biden and trying to diminish the Bidens. This is about Donald Trump. That's not a defense of Donald Trump. Even if Hunter Biden, even if there's proof to suggest, and by the way, again, I haven't seen any, but even if there is proof to suggest that the Bidens committed a crime, it still wouldn't be right, and it still could be a crime if, in fact, Donald Trump withheld aid because he wanted an investigation into the Bidens. That's the part you're not understanding.
Of course I understand it, Brian, but that's not what we're getting at here.
That's exactly what we're getting at.
How does the whole point of this, the goal of impeaching Donald Trump is to do what?
The goal of impeaching
the goal of the Democrats for impeaching Donald Trump is to do what?
I'm not a Democrat, so I don't speak for Democrats.
I'm asking
the goal is to get to the truth.
No, it's not.
Oh, really?
The goal is to remove him from office.
Okay, well, I'm telling you what I want. I want the truth.
Okay, that doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Our listeners don't
want
care.
The truth.
The country doesn't care.
So
what kind of truth you want?
The country doesn't care.
Absolutely not.
About truth?
No one cares about the truth that Brian Shapiro wants.
No, how about truth in general?
The whole entire goal here
either the truth about
either Donald Trump is removed from office or he isn't. And in order to remove him from office, you need 20 Republican senators to turn over.
And if John Bolton takes the stand and says there was a quid pro quo, I think there's a good chance that could happen.
That will absolutely not take place. I will take any single bet you want to make, Brian. I don't care what the number is.
You never pay your bets, though.
Of course I do.
No,
I always pay my bets.
You never pay your bets. You owe me like 8 dinners.
I do not owe you Ask me for one. Ask me for one dinner and I'll repay
Okay,
it.
let's go tonight.
Not a problem. Not tonight. I can't do it tonight. I'm moving to a new house. I got a lot of stuff going on. I've been living out of a hotel. Very difficult.
What are you, a panhandler? You're living out of a hotel?
I'm basically a nomad right now.
Wow.
But I have been playing a lot of bingo.
Well, you know what? Just do
I'm doing well.
Well, you know what? You should have had a conversation with President Trump about a quid pro quo and then put a book out, and then you wouldn't be living out of a hotel.
But the point is...
No, that's the point.
It's because of a black mold issue, first and foremost.
All right.
But the point is, Brian, you need 20 senators to turn on Donald Trump.
And I understand
and
that.
how are they going to do that? It has to be 100% clean and clear cut, considering how good the economy
and if
is.
John Bolton,
how pissed off?
Nothing to do with the economy.
How pissed off?
This trial
absolutely
has nothing to do with the economy.
How pissed off they're?
What?
No, it's all about the
What?
senators. The senators, they have the constituents, right?
Hold on a second.
What?
You think the economy has any bearing on this trial?
Everything.
It has nothing to do with this trial.
The state of the country has everything to do with this trial. It's
No,
not.
it doesn't.
How do you not see that? You think it's just all about?
So if the economy is doing
Trump,
good, then we can give Trump a pass if he broke
not,
the law.
I'm just saying for senators.
What are you saying? I don't understand.
They're factoring that in.
They're not supposed to factor that in. They took an oath. No, they don't have to.
It's not going to work like that.
Do you understand?
All Donald Trump and his team has to do.
Understand how the law
and
works?
By putting Hunter Biden up onto the stand, is they have to muddy the waters enough to make it seem like it was okay for Donald Trump to want to look into the Bidens.
First of all, I am troubled by what you just said.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Fine. If it doesn't bother me at all. But if Hunter Biden goes up there, and I believe again, I think he is not an intelligent guy, and since he can't plead the fifth, I think he will literally destroy himself.
But Trump is brilliant.
I think Donald Trump is
guy.
He is significantly more intelligent than Hunter Biden.
Yeah, sure.
Donald Trump is a very, very successful businessman. He has been for a long time.
Right.
No, he is.
Yeah. Just hand me $500 million. We'll see how many of my companies file for bankruptcy.
That has nothing to do with it, Brian.
No, it has everything to do with it.
He wasn't just handed $500 million.
Yes, he was.
He worked for his father for 20 years in the company.
And he was handed a $500 million company.
He
was given millions of dollars since he was a baby.
First of all, his father was involved in lower-end real estate in New York City.
His father was also involved in racist actions in New York City,
I'm not suggesting that's not true.
Yeah, his father was a racist.
But how does that – now you're flipping everything around.
Well, you're not going to defend Donald Trump's father. He was a horrible human being.
I'm just saying he was involved in smaller – lower-end real estate deals. Donald Trump did bigger deals. He got involved with.
He had a $500 million bankroll to do it. He had a $500 million bankroll to do it.
He took the business to a new level, and you can't just do that if you're a complete moron. Hunter Biden has done nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort.
Okay, well, I have a lot more respect for Hunter than I do
you don't.
Donald Trump. I'll tell you that right now.
I don't.
Yes, I do.
I'm troubled to hear that from you because that is a completely ridiculous thing to say.
Well, I'm troubled.
But all Donald Trump's attorneys have to do is they have to prove that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were involved or could have been involved in corruption with Burisma and the Ukraine, and that will be enough, I believe, to stop. No matter what John Bolton says in his book or on the stand, that'll be enough to not have 20 turnover and not remove the president from office.
Okay, well, we're going to take some calls on the other side of the break. What do you make of this? Do you agree with JD? Do you agree with myself? 702-257-5396 is the phone call. The phone number to call in. Again, 702-257-5396 if you do want to be a part of this conversation. And the important thing to note here, the economy, unemployment numbers, how the country is doing as a whole is supposed to have literally zero bearing on this trial. It's about one thing and one thing only. Did the president commit high crimes and misdemeanors? The unemployment number could be 0%, and it won't change the fact that this trial is going on. We want evidence. We want evidence, and what is evidence? Evidence is witnesses, people like John Bolton that'll get up there and testify. Evidence is paperwork, subpoenas. That's what I'm talking about when I say I want the truth. America should want the truth, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You should want the truth, whether that exonerates the president or the president committed a crime. You should want that. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. We will take a break right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take. I'm liking this 90s alternative rock theme. I'm liking it. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Nothing like a little Green Day to wake up in the morning. Please don't do that. Please don't sing over the music.
I'm going to keep going.
That's Radio 101. So welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday. Obviously, we're talking about the impeachment trial. Last day, I guess, of the defense of Donald Trump's attorneys speaking right now. And we're talking a lot about John Bolton and the fact that I believe that he should testify. JD disagrees.
I didn't say I disagree.
Well, you think Hunter Biden and Joe Biden should testify,
I'm saying
Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton,
Monica
Lewinsky.
It's going to go on and on and on and on and on. You're going to have 15 or 20 witnesses on both sides. Probably a 2-month impeachment that costs the American public $200-300 million.
No, I know. We both disagree on this. I get your
That's
point.
fine.
So we're taking your phone calls at 702-257-5396. We'll take your calls in a second here. But I want to play you a little bit of Ken Starr. Oh, yeah, that's right. That man, another old, white, crusty man. He's Ken Starr. Well, don't put your hands up in the air like that. He is. I'm sick of these old, crusty white guys that are serving, that have a voice in this trial.
How about you just say previously relevant?
No, I'm going to call him an old,
crusty
white
guy.
Yeah, they all look like Santa Claus, and I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm tired of it.
You're tired of old, crusty white guys who look like Santa Claus.
If Ken Starr wants to work in a mall and wants to dress up as Santa Claus and let little kids sit on his lap so long as he's not ever been convicted of a crime, I've got no problem with that. I'm tired of all these old white guys. I really am. I'm tired of it. I really am. I'd like to see some younger people on there that don't make me want to fall asleep.
I wonder how many of our listeners are old white guys.
Well, they can call in, and if they have a problem, but guess what?
And they'll probably email.
They're not the ones that are emailing, or they're not the ones that are testifying, or the ones that are working for Donald Trump or working in his very white administration, which is about 99% white.
For a guy who is very, very much against racism, you were just very racist there, Brian.
No, I want diversity.
No,
I want diversity.
That was very racist.
That's actually the opposite of racism. I want diversity. That's why I'm calling them a bunch of old, white, crusty guys that seem to be on the right that all work in the Trump administration. Anyway, there's a reason why I brought up Ken Starr. Because yesterday, the old, crusty white guy decided to say something that was completely ridiculous. He compared this impeachment to war. Have a listen to this audio.
Like war, impeachment is hell. Or at least presidential impeachment is hell. Those of us who lived through the Clinton impeachment, including members of this body, full well understand that a presidential impeachment is tantamount to domestic war, albeit thankfully protected by our beloved First Amendment. A war of words and a war of ideas.
Can you believe it? If you serve this country honorably, and this idiot wants to compare war to an impeachment trial, he says war, like war, impeachment is hell. Last I checked, I've never seen in an impeachment somebody losing their life. I've never seen somebody, killed by a roadside bombing. I've never seen somebody die to an Al-Qaeda terrorist. What the hell is Ken Starr talking about? Did he ever serve in war? Have his kids served? What the hell are you talking about? God forsaken that this is a guy that we want to listen to who compares an impeachment to war. Your thoughts? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. What some horrible comments by Starr. Why don't we start off with Linda? Linda, you're first up. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Linda?
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Doing well.
What's on your mind?
Okay, first I want to talk about when you said how the right is turning on Bolton. If I remember correctly, I think Comey was a hero to the left until he was on that trial or whatever was going on, and he said those things about Hillary during the election.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the left, wow, they hated Comey. So I think it kind of works. It works both ways.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah,
and then I'll let you.
It kind of has to work both ways.
First of all, let me just tell you, I do not disagree with you at all. I agree with you 100%. It's politics on both sides of the aisle, Linda. I agree with you. And by the way, I am not a James Comey fan. I think he is a phony, an absolute phony. But with that being said, Linda, this is a serious situation. I'm sure you would agree. Bolton needs to testify. So I agree with you. It happens on both sides of the aisle, and I don't agree with either of them.
Okay, now my other observation is you say how you want the truth, and most of us do. But I think everybody who listens to your station and they know how you feel about Trump, it comes across to us that the only truth you really want is for Trump to be impeached.
Well, you obviously are making a gross assumption that is not true.
That's not a gross assumption.
Yes, it is. So let me be very clear, Linda, because I've said this over and over and over again. I don't like assumptions, so I'll just say it on the air right now. And if you don't believe me and you think I'm a liar, that's on you, not me.
I'm not saying that I think you're a liar. I'm just saying that's what I feel when I hear
Well,
you.
here's how I feel. I'll be very honest with you, and I've said this on the show a gazillion times. I do think Donald Trump broke the law, but guess what? If Bolton testifies, if Mulvaney testifies, if all this paperwork that the Democrats want, they get, and it proves that the president is exonerated and he did not commit a crime, then I'm totally cool with that, because I would rather have that happen than have the president still be in office when we don't get all the information put forward. That is why I say time and time again, I just want the truth. Now, if the truth is the president didn't do anything wrong, then I am totally cool with that, so long as the Democrats get all the evidence put forth. It's just like any type of criminal trial. You want all the truth, all the witnesses, all the testimony, and then if it's proven that the client didn't commit a crime, then fine, he's innocent. And I will talk about that on the radio, and I'll be happy that the Republicans allowed the Democrats to state their case with all the evidence put forward. I mean, I don't know how I can be more clear than that. Yeah, you're right. I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, but guess what? I support due process, and I support the truth. And we're not going to get the truth if Bolton doesn't testify and some of these other witnesses don't testify. That's my only point.
And then they said if there are witnesses, this trial could go on until April or May. Now, don't you think by that time the country will be so sick of this? Who's even going to be listening anymore?
Let me be very clear.
The country will be totally sick of it, and Donald Trump will have, in my opinion, locked up a landslide victory in 2020.
Disagree 100%. Linda, I would rather have the trial go till April or May and find out the truth than to not get all the information and let the trial end in a couple days and we really don't know whether the president committed a crime or not. Does that not make sense?
Maybe for content purposes.
Does that not make sense, Linda? I'm trying to answer all of your questions as honestly as I can.
Well, it makes sense, but I don't think it's logical. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's just
can I ask
everybody's going to be sick of it. They're going to be sick of it.
Linda, you're a Trump supporter, right? You're a Republican.
Yeah, and I don't even like to watch what's going on now.
Linda, fair enough. I understand, but there's a reason why I asked that question. I'm going to bring up Benghazi for a second. When there were rumors circulating that Hillary Clinton had committed a crime and those 4 people sadly lost their lives in Benghazi, you wanted an investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there wasn't – after there was 1 or 2 investigations by Republicans, how did you feel about the next 6 or 7 investigations that went on for years? Were you complaining about that? There were 9 investigations into Benghazi. I wanted an investigation too, Linda, make no mistake about it, because I wanted the truth. 9 investigations by Republicans. Were you complaining that that was going on too long?
Well, I don't think so, because there were so many people that died, and it was horrific. It was just seems like it's like apples and oranges.
This is basically a former businessman making a business deal with a foreign leader.
Well, now I'm going to make an assumption
on hearsay, on 100% hearsay from a person who worked for the president, who lost his job publicly.
Yep.
Who doesn't have the greatest relationship with the president, who was also in the process trying to make millions of dollars from a book.
Well, now I'm going to make an assumption.
And yes, should that testimony remove the president of the United States? What kind of a precedent does that set for the future, Brian?
I would say,
and the real question is, how many presidents before Donald Trump have done what he's done? I don't believe, first of all, that Donald Trump even needed to look into Joe Biden.
Well, that's not.
Joe Biden was not as
irrelevant.
He was not as guaranteed. Again, no, he was not as guaranteed opponent. There was other parts of the conversation that were not stated or that have not been covered by the public. No, it's not anything. You actually believe that Donald Trump 100% withheld aid to look into the Bidens. Yep. Brian, Joe Biden is not even. He's never been a threat to Donald Trump.
John Bolton is going to prove you wrong.
John Bolton is going to prove me wrong.
Yep.
What credibility does he have at this point?
The credibility he's had his entire life. Do you know anything about his career?
I know everything about John. Why is he releasing a book? Why is he doing this? Why is he trying to fill his pockets up with money?
Doesn't mean he's not telling the truth. You're saying he's going to lie under oath?
It doesn't mean that he is telling the truth.
So he's going to lie under oath. Okay, I get what you're saying. Another conspiracy theory. Let me just make an assumption.
He feels like a woman scorned at this point.
Let me just make an assumption now, because Linda made an assumption about me, and she was 100% wrong. I proved her wrong. I was very honest with her. I'm going to make an assumption about Linda. She just said she's a Republican. She just said she's a Trump supporter. I just asked her about Benghazi. Yes, 4 people tragically lost their lives. She had no problem with 9 investigations. She's got no problem with that. But when it comes to Donald Trump, no, we don't need a thorough investigation, because I'm a Trump supporter and I'm a Republican. Let the man win in 2020. Whether he broke – hold on, let me finish.
Did anybody die, Brian?
Let me finish. Whether he broke the law or not, or whether somebody died or not, I'm going to tell you something. If you withhold aid for political gain, yes, I am glad that Ukraine got that aid after many people were telling him, you can't do this, Mr. President, including Bolton. We're going to find that out. If you withhold aid to another country for political gain, you're damn right people can die. If he did it once, he can do it again. I think Linda is a biased Republican. I don't think, I know. And now I'm going to make an assumption about you. Your assumption was wrong about me. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I wanted to bring up the point. Brian, why are you calling all the old white men crusty? I kind of find that racist. You could just say old crusty guys. You don't need to stick white in there. You always say I'm the racist. So get away from that white.
All right, let me be clear, Brady. Let me be clear, Brady. I think you're an old, white, crusty, right-wing, biased buffoon Republican. What do you think about that? Go ahead.
I'm not that old, Brian. How old are you? You want to get in the ring with me?
I think you're
You
dumb.
want to get in the ring with me, boy?
I think you're dumb. Boy, now who's the racist? I think you're dumb. I think you're misinformed.
Anytime you want to step in the ring with this
Anytime you want to step, oh yeah, you're a real tough guy, you right-wing buffoon.
I like this.
All right,
This
let
is
me
going
ask.
really
Let me
well.
ask you a question
Hey,
then.
Brady, this is
Hold
your
on.
best call yet.
Let me ask you a question, Brady. If we get in the ring, are you allowed to take off your Donald Trump knee pads?
I don't know. You're wearing them right now, aren't you?
No, I'm absolutely not, because I'm not like you. I don't go.
hang on a
No,
second.
I'm
No,
not
hey,
like you.
Brady, make no mistake about it. Brian has had a Lev Parnas-esque Donald Trump shrine in his house.
That's not funny. And by the way, Brady, I don't.
Make no mistake
Brady,
about
when
it.
you step in the ring with
Brady,
me, bro.
Brady, unlike you, I don't perform fellatio on the president every day.
You're gonna need more than knee pads when you step in the ring, bro.
Yeah, okay, bro. You sound really smart. Thanks for the call.
Hey, Brady,
bro.
really, really good
Yeah,
call.
thanks,
Your
bro.
best call yet.
Yeah,
no question asked.
He's so eloquent and well-spoken. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to JD. JD, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, JD?
Other than the incident, Mrs. Lincoln, did you enjoy the play?
Is that supposed to be funny?
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, no,
Mrs.
I know.
Lincoln.
I know. Yeah, I understand what you're quoting. Thank you for that.
First of all, if I may, real quick before I answer your question regarding you and JD, in the conversation with Dr. Ford, did either of you mention the fact that 9 people from one of the Circus Soleil show were in China and they came back and they have taken them out of the show here in Las Vegas?
What does that have to do with the Donald Trump impeachment trial?
Well, because it was earlier and I didn't get in, I just wanted to know if you knew about that. That's
No,
all
I
I'm
don't.
trying to
I
get.
want to focus on, if that's okay, JD. I'd like to focus on what we're discussing now.
I understand, but
Yes.
I thought that was important.
I
Never
agree
mind.
that's pertinent.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yes, thank you, JD. Okay, what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, Brian, I think, I agree with JD. I think you're so consumed with hate for Donald Trump that
No,
you
I'm consumed with truth, with all due
Well,
respect.
Can I finish?
Well, you said something that's not factually accurate. I'm consumed
I'm
with
not
truth.
done with the statement.
And you're wrong with the beginning
You're
of your
so
statement.
consumed with hate for Trump that you can't make a rational decision, even if you have
Really?
the facts
I
in
can't.
front of
Okay,
you.
so let me ask you a question, JD. Do we have all the facts in this case, or would you like witnesses put forward? Do we have all the facts?
No, I guess not. And I would-
Exactly.
yeah,
So guess who's
I-
right?
I
Me,
would
and you're
li-
wrong.
I would like witnesses, yes.
Okay, so where am I wrong then? Be specific. Where am I wrong with my judgment? All I've said on this show for weeks is I want the truth, I want witnesses, and I want all the evidence. And if it's proven,
Okay,
hold on.
What witnesses do you want?
Are you serious? Mulvaney and John Bolton for starters. I want also the paperwork.
And who else?
Hold on. I want emails. The emails have not been put forth, and text messages that the Democrats have asked for that the Republicans and Donald Trump are blocking. It is called evidence. And if it proves that Donald Trump is not guilty and he's exonerated,
Okay, and
then
who
I'm
else do
totally
you want
fine
for
with that.
witnesses?
Those are just 2 to start. There are many
who else
witnesses
do
they
you
can
want?
call. Starting with those 2. I'm going to start with those 2 right
who
now.
Who else would you want?
I'm starting with those 2. If you'd like me to give you a laundry list, we could do that.
Would you want the whistleblower?
If that's what it takes, if that's what the Republicans want, and that's
Would you want Schiff?
Would you like me to finish answering your question? If that's what it takes to get Democrats, to allow Democrats to get Bolton and Mulvaney
All right,
and
yeah,
Bolton
I understand where
and
you're trying to go, where you're going.
Pompeo,
I understand.
I think
I
the
understand.
Democrats are making a mistake. Listen, if they want to ruin the Bidens and they want to just diminish the Bidens, let them have at it so long as we could get to the truth and the evidence. Because if the Democrats truly believe, and I believe it as well, that Donald Trump committed a crime, then do it.
Privilege.
I'm sorry?
Do you believe in executive privilege?
I don't believe in the president being above the law. So you take that as you
that's
are.
not my question.
Well, that's
Do
my
you-
answer. That's my answer.
Do you believe executive privilege is available to the president of the United States, any president?
In this situation, no. And here's why I say that. Because
You're constitutionally so wrong and off base.
you know what? You can think I'm constitutionally wrong all you want to, but I think you're wrong because you don't want the truth, because you're on the right and you're a Donald Trump supporter and he's your boy and you want him there in 2020.
I want witnesses. What doesn't that say that I want the full facts to come
Well,
out?
guess what?
Just like in Benghazi, the 54 people that were in the fight were not allowed to testify by the Obama
There were
administration.
nine investigations
Yeah,
head
but
by
the 54
Republicans.
people that were there were not allowed by executive privilege of Obama.
Okay, so in this conversation, you've brought up Barack Obama, you've brought up Benghazi. I understand you want to bring up those things. I've talked about it as well and trying to make a point on it. But in this conversation, you've said you want witnesses to testify. So please explain to me why Republicans and Donald Trump are blocking witnesses from testifying. Explain that.
Well, I believe they're going by the Constitution with executive privilege of every president since George Washington, and the fact that the subpoenas that the House has asked for were improper.
What type of country?
And actually, Brian, the rules that they're following were passed 100-0, which has allowed them to deny the 11 amendment.
Let me ask you both a question then.
By the Democrats.
Let me ask you both a question then.
They're just following the rules.
Let me ask you both a question then. What type of country do you want to live in where if it's alleged that the president committed a crime, that Democrats or Republicans, whoever's in office, cannot investigate it, call witnesses forward, and put forth as much evidence and go through as much of the evidence as possible to try to get to the truth? What type of country, sir, do you want to live in?
Well, I guess we're just going by the protocols established. For example,
all right, you don't want to answer the question. I get it, JD. No, I get it, JD. You don't want to answer the question. You just want to talk about the Constitution and you want to talk about other things. I'm asking you a very specific question. What type of country? Don't you want the truth? Let's go and get the truth. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey,
What's up, Mark?
All right. How's it going, guys?
Good.
I just wanted to wonder if all the witnesses come forward and you get all the evidence that the Democrats provide and everything like that.
Yep.
How upset would you be if he was not proven innocent but not proven guilty? So, I mean, I believe in innocent until proven guilty.
I'd be a lot. Well, let me be clear. I'd be a lot.
Would you still be satisfied with that?
I'd be a lot.
All the
let me be clear. I'd be a lot more satisfied now or then than I would now. And the reason why I say that, because if Bolton testifies and he says there was no quid pro quo, the president never told me to withhold aid, if Mulvaney says the same thing, if Pompeo testifies, and, if that's what they say, and then all the paperwork, the emails and the phone and the text messages are put forth, and it doesn't prove that there was a quid pro quo, I'll be honest with you, Mark, and he's exonerated, I'll be a lot more satisfied then than now. That's the best way I can answer that.
It might come to the point where he's not proven innocent, but he's also not proven guilty.
Well, that was the Mueller report.
Yeah, that'll be
but I'm with you.
The waters being muddied.
I want the full truth. I'm not a Trump supporter at all.
Yeah. Well, Mark, do you agree though?
Either, so.
Mark, I'm glad to hear you say that. Would you agree with me though that there are many people on the alt-right that do not want the truth? And many senators, and that's wrong.
They just don't care. They don't think it's a big deal. Just
not
like
a big deal.
It's Brian. This was not a big deal. This is not a big deal. This was a standard negotiation between foreign leaders. That's all it was.
I'm just saying.
It's not a big deal, Brian.
It's not a big deal.
Absolutely not.
Sure, you're right.
2020.
Mark, I'm sorry. What did you say, Mark?
There was no guarantee that Biden was going to be his opponent in 2020.
Mark, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying if you get everything and it's not like dead to rights that he's guilty and he's acquitted, and it's kind of like, well, it's gray. Like, I mean, you got to believe in innocent. That's due process.
I agree.
Proven guilty. He doesn't have to prove himself innocent.
Mark, I agree. Listen, I agree.
It's up to them to get the burden of proof.
Mark, you haven't said anything I disagree with, but you understand where I'm coming from. We both agree on this as well.
Do,
we just want all the evidence put forward and then make a determination and let America decide. Mark, I appreciate. Yeah, Mark, I appreciate your phone call.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Mark.
By the way, JD, I find it offensive.
I don't care.
I know you don't care.
Okay, not even a little bit.
I know you don't care, but I find it offensive that you think there is a possibility that the president withheld aid for personal political gain, and you say it's not a
Brian,
big deal.
I don't
That
think
is troubling.
You're actually troubled by that.
Yeah.
You're just trying to turn this into one big, giant, long, crazy story. You are literally echoing.
You don't care if the president committed a crime.
Do I think that this was an impeachable offense? Do you think Donald Trump should be removed from office?
Okay, let me answer your question by saying this. If Bolton testifies, if Pompeo testifies, that they look at text messages, and if Bolton gets up there on that witness stand and says that, yes, there was a quid pro quo, yes, the president withheld aid for investigations into Democrats, 150%. Let's take some more phone calls. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Steve?
Hello.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
About this, Mr. Bolton possibly testifying. Here, the Republicans are almost finished with their part of the inquiry here, the trial, and then at the last minute, here comes Mr. Bolton.
Exactly.
It seems so strange. It was just like
no, I don't think it's strange.
No, I'm trying to make a point here, please. It's just like when during the Senate confirmation hearings for now Associate Justice Kavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the guy's a shoo-in. And then at the very last second, here comes this woman. He did all the da-da-da-da-da-da back when they were in high school.
I understand the point you're trying to make. Hold on, Steve.
No
hang on.
corroborating witnesses on her part.
Steve, you're comparing her.
Anyway.
Steve, you're comparing her to Bolton, who is a lifelong Republican, who has a tremendous amount of respect, or has amongst Republicans his entire career. You're really comparing her to the resume of Bolton. It is a horrific analogy you're making.
Wasn't she a professor, Brian?
No,
a pretty respected professor.
I'm saying it's down to a question of timing.
Okay, so let me ask you this then.
Steve,
let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible that Bolton, he wanted to make some money with his book, but don't you think it's also possible that he could be telling the truth? Is that possible?
I would say it is possible.
Then we agree. So let's just hear him testify, Steve. Is that so bad?
No, but I would.
Okay, so we agree.
But it seems like the Democrats.
Oh boy, here we go.
Wanted. Well, it's our rules or we don't play.
It's our rules or we don't play. So in every case, in every trial. In every case, Steve, would you say when the defense team or the prosecution, when they want witnesses and they want as much evidence put forward, would you make that same argument?
Well, I mean, first of all, Brian, when Trump was impeached by the House, they wouldn't let the Republicans call any witnesses. So why would they do the exact? Why should they expect the same courtesy?
Let's see what you guys think out there. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Mark?
There's so much hypocrisy on this on both sides. I'm all about the rule of law. What is the precedent that has been established in impeaching previous presidents? I mean, the House had every opportunity to subpoena in a method that respected rule of law, get their witnesses, build their case.
They tried to do that.
I know, but they didn't do it according to the rule of law.
Mark, John Bolton was asked to testify by Democrats. Not only did he not show up, but his attorneys threatened to sue the Democrats. You can't fault the Democrats for that, can you?
This is the thing. This is just bad for everybody involved.
Well, then maybe the president shouldn't have brought up the Bidens in a phone call with Zelensky. I mean, did you ever think of that?
Bringing up the Bidens.
There's nothing there about the vice president going on being on air stating that he's going to withhold $1 billion if certain prosecutor isn't fired.
That's okay because I guess there was corruption in the first place. No, that's not an issue.
All right. Well, I try not to do Mark whataboutism on this show, and you seem to practice
You just
that.
did the exact same thing with Hillary Clinton in Benghazi.
257-5396 is the number.
When she said that she was.
I got to get to some other callers. 257-5396. Get to Jennifer. Jennifer, I got about 30 seconds for you. Go ahead.
Hi. This should have stopped as soon as Zelensky went on the air and said there was no quid pro quo. It was a source himself, and there were 16 people on this phone call. Guess who wasn't on it? The whistleblower who's working for Biden. So as soon as Zelensky and Trump was on tape, they were saying, "What do you want?" He says, "Nothing. I want nothing. I want them to do the right thing."
And you're failing. You're failing. You're missing some information.
Did Zelensky not say there was no pressure, Brian? Because he definitely did.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. What?
Even if there was where he was pressuring, it's still not an impeachable offense.
So if Bolton hold on, Jennifer. So if Bolton, Jennifer, I've only got 30 seconds. If Bolton testifies, a lifelong Republican, and he testifies that there was a quid pro quo, as many people feel like he will, do you have a problem with that, or you just don't believe Mr. Bolton?
I don't know because I'm not sure he should be because there's private phone calls. These other leaders all over the world.
All right, Jennifer.
And everything. They don't want their private conversations.
Why would they?
Yeah. So why?
So now every single conversation that Donald Trump has with any president for the next 50 or 100 years or before Donald Trump has. And anything in that conversation has to be open to the public now?
Okay, I can't answer that because we got to take a break.
It makes no sense.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get back to the Kobe Bryant story. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. I promise you that. We'll have more time to talk about it. But former National College Basketball Coach of the Year will be joining us in studio. He is Larry Eustace, and he's going to share with us some very personal Kobe Bryant stories that are going to be very touching, get his thoughts on this whole situation that is very, very tragic. We'll take a quick break, be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.